Hello and welcome to Blythe Ray Business News. Today I'm joined by Eduardo Covarrubias, who is chairman of Los Andes Copper. Los Andes is listed in Canada on the TSXV, the Toronto Venture Market, has a ticker of LA. The company has recently released a new PFS, which has been very well received this morning, Eduardo, by the London analysts who've been raising valuations of your company, which is always good news. So look, can you please run us through the highlights of the PFS? And what does that tell us about the Vizcachitas project in Chile? And what does it do to move the project forwards?
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me here. Yes, we're very excited with the new PFS that we've put out, and also very excited with the reception that's getting with the analysts. In a nutshell, I think our PFS is now showing with new facts that we have a multi-deposit, a huge copper greenfield deposit that with a maiden reserve of 11 billion pounds. And if you look at it in terms of resources, we have 15 billion pounds of measured and indicated resources and another 15 billion pounds of inferred. That puts us in this very rarefied space of a handful of new projects that can actually make some difference in dealing with the deficit of copper that's coming in the next few years. In terms of economics, we're showing, we're running it at 3.68 copper long term. That is the long-term consensus, even though current prices are higher. And at 368, we're showing that we have an after-tax net present value of $2.8 billion with a 24% IRR. Those are pretty robust economics. We have a capex of 2.4 billion, and we're building it in 3.25 years. So this is a pretty reasonable time frame to put a project of this magnitude. And that's in a nutshell what the project is.
Now, back in 2019, almost 4 years ago, you did a preliminary economic assessment, a PEA. So you've now got the PFS. How does the PFS differ from the PEA in 2019?
Yeah,
and
well,
I guess also you've probably brought in now some environmental benefits. So tell us about the differences and touch upon the environmental benefits, if you will, please.
Absolutely. Well, this is a larger project. The PEA had a mill that was processing 110,000 tons per day. Now we are processing 136,000 tons per day. And that means that we're going to be producing over 180,000 tons of copper per year for the first 8 years. So that is, again, one of the big changes. Other changes that we did on the layout and on the processing itself have allowed us to bring the cash cost down. So we're going to be having a C1 cash cost of $0.93 per pound for the first 8 years as well. So those are big changes in terms of going bigger and going a lot more efficient in terms of economics. But also there's several elements that we've taken to make sure we're adopting the sustainable mining practices going forward. We have the benefit of being a greenfield project, a new project that can be designed from scratch, looking at the future of mining and not having to deal with legacy decisions that have been made decades ago. So, for example, the biggest issue in Chile and generally in mining, water. We are filtering our tailings instead of using thickened tailings. By doing so, we no longer have a tailings dam. We can deposit the filtered tailings as a solid together with the waste rock. That not only reduces the footprint of the project, which is in itself a very big benefit, but it reduces water consumption by 50% compared to the traditional or the more traditional methods. So that is a very big savings. And that's one of the examples of how we're looking to improve the project using technologies that are proven, but that can help improve the environmental performance of these mining projects. Another big change in water is we're going to be using desalinated water. We see that continental water is a very scarce asset, particularly in this area of Chile that is has been hit by the drought and the climate change very hard. So we're switching to desalinated water. We're joining a consortium, and that consortium is not only going to supply water to us and several other mining and agricultural clients, but we're requiring that consortium to make water available to the communities where this pipeline goes by. So there's several communities in Putaendo and in Petorca valleys that are in dire need of water, and they will get desalinated water in preferential terms. That's probably the biggest, I'd say, change from an environmental standpoint. Other changes, we are switching our grinding technology from the old SAG mills into the newer HPGR technology. That reduces power consumption by 25%. As well as some other technical benefits that we come along. So these are the kind of things that we've put into the project to make sure that this is, again, what mining should be doing going forward.
The world's going to be increasingly in need of copper as we move through the green revolution, and vehicles are being electrified, buildings need copper for wiring. Against that background, what's the significance of the Vizcachitas project and the copper it could produce?
Depending on who you ask, the deficit over the next 8 years, deficit in annual availability of copper is going to be anywhere between 5 and 10 million tons. Bear in mind that we're producing in the world, we're producing somewhere north of 20 million tons. Vizcachitas, with an annual production of 180,000 tons, is part of it. You need many, many Vizcachitas to deal with this gap. The issue is, how many are there? There's very few. So yeah, we need to build Vizcachitas. We need to build several others that have the economics and the profile that should get built. And that's the only way we can start dealing with this deficit. Otherwise, it's impossible.
Thanks for that. Thanks for the update on the project and the PFS. In ways, that's today's news. Investors, viewers are always interested in what's coming up next. So over the next few months, what should we be looking out for in terms of news flow from Los Andes Copper?
Yeah, well, we now with the PFS finalized, we'll start doing our works for the feasibility as well. But there's also room for some significant optimizations and improvements in the project itself, which we're going to take care of. And probably the two most noticeable ones are, first, that the drilling we've been doing over the last year shows that this deposit is completely open. We don't really know where the borders are. In some instances, we might not even know where the center is. So the potential for this to grow a lot more is huge. And at depth, we have the same phenomena. We've been doing some deeper drilling, and we're coming up with fantastic results showing that there's a potential for an underground mine in the future after you develop the open pit, which is, by the way, the trend of what you're seeing in our neighbors. I mean, we are surrounded by 3 or 4 of the world's largest copper mines, and 3 of these 4 are either already underground or in the process of opening up their underground mines as in a way of extending their initial deposits. So that's a big change. The other thing we have is we have a fair amount of inferred resources, and that's a function of the historical drilling that this project had, which was relatively short drilling. So we have plenty of inferred resources that's hanging below the existing drilling, and with some of it is with pretty good grades. And because it's inferred, we kind of bring in the mine plan. So there's a conversion there of inferred into higher category resources that should create some pretty relevant additional benefits for the project.
Well, Eduardo, thanks for all that update. Good luck with the project. Come back and keep us informed as you progress, and we wish you lots of luck. That was Eduardo Covarrubias, who is chairman of Los Andes Copper, updating us on the PFS published very recently and the future progress of the Vizcachitas project in Chile. That's it for this edition of Blythe Ray Business News. Thanks for watching.